Welcome back to Scratching the Surface. On episode 35 today, I will be reviewing The Monkey from director Oz Perkins. Before I get into the episode, please check us out at scratchingthesurface100.com. Leave and write your own horror movie reviews. Keep up to date for future horror movies for the year of 2025 and beyond. Read our monthly article blogs. That is there for you people to enjoy. So, The Monkey from Oz Perkins. Now, this one had some hype built up going into it. And when it came out in February, I think there was a lack of good stuff in the movie theaters at that time. So people were ready to see something entertaining and worth their time and worth the while. Now, I think The Monkey was a little bit mixed in terms of its reception. Some people did like it. A lot of people didn't. And I don't think there was very many at all that loved it. Definitely not many people that loved it. And if we look at the ratings right now, it's still kind of a mixed bag in terms of the ratings. I think it's 79% for the critics. And then let's see what the audience members are at on Rotten Tomatoes, 57. So that's just an example of the mixed reception we've received. The idea of the story is based off the Stephen King novel. So that as well was able to build some hype and get people interested, pique their interest. So Stephen King adaptations sometimes can be good, but there's obviously been many of them that don't do that well and aren't that successful. So what we were going to get from The Monkey was a complete unknown. It was not a guaranteed success. So just because you're excited about a movie and just because the advertising is solid does not mean it's going to end up being good. The story itself, based off that Stephen King novel, is about two twin brothers, Hal and Bill, who find a toy monkey in their father's belongings, and their father is estranged. They never really imply whether he did die, but that's kind of the assumption that he died. We see him early at the very beginning of the film dealing with the monkey that we actually see throughout the movie. So it is assumed that he probably died dealing with the monkey in his lifetime. So these kids find the monkey in their dad's belongings. They kind of check it out. There is a box that it's within, and on the outside, it says "like life" on the outside of the box in text. So they pull it out, they start playing with it and seeing what it can do. And there's a key that you can turn in the back of the monkey's back. And once you do that, he starts clapping his hands. And that's kind of a good thing to have here actually in this film, because whenever he does clap the hands, that lets you know that something bad is going to probably happen. So it builds the tension when that does happen. And once they start dealing with this toy, crazy deaths all of a sudden start occurring and appearing around them. So I think the first death we see is when they're at a hibachi with their babysitter, and the babysitter is making eyes with the guy cooking them the food. And when he's tossing his knives around on accident, the knife flies out of his hand and slices the babysitter's neck, and she dies. So extremely rare way for somebody to die. And not that the kids at that point know it's because of the monkey. Hal has maybe an inkling that it's starting to affect people around them, and maybe the deaths are starting to occur because of it. But it's not until Hal turns the key to wish death upon his brother Bill, and their mother dies instead, that they both become aware of this thing having some kind of demonic power, some ability to cause harm to others. So once that happens, the boys decide to ditch the monkey, throw it down a well, and hopefully that keeps it away for the rest of their lives. And it seemingly works for some time. They grow up, they go into their adulthood, they move on with their lives. That is until one day that the monkey returns, and they start to witness things happen again that they remembered when they were kids. The first act of this film is interesting because we have a narration from Hal, the early starts of the movie, kind of explaining the world and the family ties and the connections between the mom and the kids and all of that. And I kind of enjoyed that. It gave me a Stand By Me feeling, but with a dash of horror, which was really cool to see. I enjoyed it. It had some kind of entertaining quality to it. But I will say that was my favorite part of the movie. And I think it only kind of goes slowly downhill from there. I would say maybe the second act is able to retain some of that entertainment, especially once the kills start ramping up, because in the middle of the film, there's a lot of crazy kills, especially when the monkey returns, that were mostly successful in getting laughs out of the audience. There were quite a few laughs in the theater when I was there. And that's kind of the issue though with the movie, is because it was so back and forth on what it wanted to be. Did you want to be a, like a grindhouse slasher? Did you want to be a coming of age movie? Did you want to be a slapstick comedy? It felt like it was constantly going back and forth. And that was a very intentional writing decision by Osgood Perkins. That's what they were going for. And I don't think it really works. It's just too much back and forth and inconsistency in terms of storytelling and narrative style to really get fully on board with. And I was mostly on board with it, but once they start switching up with all the kills, and especially once we go into the final act, that's where I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit silly. And I'll explain why I think it gets silly. We go into the final act, and what is really driving the conflict going into the resolution of the film is twin brother Bill knowing and having a feeling that Hal had wished death upon him. And because of him doing that and incidentally killing his mother, Bill blames him for that all of the years. He's held this grudge for 20, 25 years or whatever it is until he's an adult, to the point that once the monkey returns, he tries to use it to get revenge on his brother Hal for their mother's death. And while it kind of makes sense for that to be in his head and to want to do that, it's just a little bit outlandish and silly to really get fully on board with and really enjoy. And that's when the film starts slipping a little bit. The writing gets very cartoonish. And because of that, I find the ending to be unsatisfactory. I really do. What happens is Hal ends up finding out that Bill is trying to cause harm and he has the possession of the monkey. So they have a standoff and they kind of, duke it out a little bit at this hideout that Bill is hanging out at, which is really odd too. And eventually they make amends, Bill apologizing for everything and Hal accepting that apology. But then right as the apology happens, I think there's a bowling ball or something like that was set up as a booby trap that Bill set up. And the booby trap he set up kills him, the guy who set it up. The bowling ball falls freaking directly on his head and just goes splat. And that was kind of funny, but still it doesn't do enough for you to really enjoy it and like it in terms of storytelling. And that's kind of the issue with the whole film. After that happens, we come to find that Bill cranked that monkey way too many times in the back with the key. And because of that, death pretty much consumes the entire town that they reside in. And there's just death everywhere. And we are left with Hal and his son Petey driving in a vehicle with a bunch of unknowns in front of them, and they're trying to take on the day together as father and son. That last scene was really good though. We have a school bus of kids. I don't know, they're going to some kind of event and they're all, leaning out of the windows of the bus, yelling and shouting at Petey and Hal when they're in the car. And this other vehicle comes from the other direction and takes all the heads off of the kids in the bus. So that's a creative way to kill off 30 people. So that was funny, but again, doesn't have any weight or substance to it at all. In the end, for me, doesn't really work. So The Monkey is an okay film. It's got some entertaining moments, some really good kills, maybe a few funny scenes here and there, but that is all it is. It's that and a bunch of inconsistent storytelling and narrative style that I didn't really enjoy that much. So if you loved it, I'm surprised. If you liked it, that's fine. I didn't like it that much. I think it's kind of right in the middle of liking it and hating it. So that is all I have for now, guys. Thank you as always, and keep watching horror.